So real quick, before we talk about the T-Wolves, I messed up in the Markelle Fultz video because I didn't know Jared Bayless was in the move, so Philly won't have his money to play with if they were to then trade Fultz. So some of those examples I brought up would not apply, but I think the general idea of that video still works, which is trading him for like a win right now, dude. Anyway, let's talk about the T-Wolves, who traded, of course, Jimmy Butler for Robert Covington, Dario Saric, and Jared Bayless. We assume Jared Bayless is not going to actually play for this team. So they basically traded for Covington, Sarich, and I believe there was a second-round pick in there. So the first thing you got to say is, like, they got Jimmy Butler out of there, which that's an accomplishment because the team was miserable when he was there, and now this team and the shot attempts and all that can be led by Karl Anthony Towns, and, well, that's a good thing, right? Towns, of course, a super talented offensive center. The defense is what it is, but with him, you can be one of the best offensive teams in the league as long as there's a respectable amount of shooting and playmaking and all that stuff. And now Jimmy is not going to take possessions away from Towns, which was a little bit of a problem last season because there were some games when Towns would only be taking like 10 shots a game. And it happened a lot more this season as Towns and the whole team, again, they just did not enjoy their time with Jimmy this season. Probably helps out Andrew Wiggins a little bit more too. That's a good thing. And then after that, I think we can look at what are Covington and Sarich going to do for them. Well, number one, I think it's a good thing to get Covington, who's on a 4-year deal. He can help you win right now, and given that he's a 3-and-D dude, they can kind of use him however they want to, so he can space the floor for Towns and Wiggins and Teague and Derrick Rose, who's been a lot better this season, and he can space for Dario Saric as well. That's always nice. And then we got to talk about Sarich now, because I think the T-Wolves are hoping that he has not hit his ceiling. And I don't think he has. I mean, third season, good three-point shooter, pretty decent ball handler. I wouldn't ask him to lead my offense, but whenever he would end up with the ball in his hands with the Sixers, he would occasionally bust something out, whether it would be like a transition play or every now and then beating a guy off the dribble, or if he gets a handoff play with a head of steam towards the basket, he can make something happen. Not just a stationary offensive player, right? And I think him and Towns next to each other could be some creative stuff. Creative things could come out of that, where they both can space the floor, they both can dribble, Towns can at least post up. And given that Covington's now just going to be sitting in the corner, I think this team could have a decent amount of spacing with those two out there. And if Derrick Rose is going to be legit from 3 now, which he's been very good to start this season, we're going to have to see if he can do it long term. But, I mean, him and Jeff Teague can both make outside shots. Now, they're both dealing with some injuries or whatever, so that's not good. But, hell, I mean, even Tyus Jones, while his usage has never been that high with this T-Wolves team, he's had at least moments of being okay from outside. He doesn't shoot that many, but he's been around league average. It's something, I guess. Yeah, the shooting and the spacing should be pretty alright here. Now, the other thing you're looking at, though, is can Sarich go to a different level as a player, right? Well, there's two ways you can look at this. It's either Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid took some possessions away from him, or they allowed him to get open. It's probably a combination of the two, right? Whereas on this team, there is no playmaker as good as Ben Simmons, and I would say Towns probably draws as much attention from the defense as Embiid does. It may happen a little differently just because Towns is not on the low block all the time. So I don't really know what's going to happen with that. I don't know if Sarich is going to see a drastic increase in shots. I don't know if it's going to be a decrease. I don't know if it's going to be basically the same. Although my gut tells me he's probably going to end up shooting more. If anything, just because the T-Wolves are going to run more pick and rolls than the 76ers did, because Philly was like towards the bottom of the league in that. Whereas the T-Wolves are actually towards the top of the NBA. They're like 7th or 8th in pick and roll frequency, and last year, I want to say they were pretty high as well last year too. So some more pick and pops for Sarich, maybe some more pick and rolls with Towns, which then the help is going to be forced to like sometimes come off of Sarich, which would get him some more open shots. Now I should say, some of the reason why they ran so many of those was because of Jimmy Butler, but I still think between D Rose and Teague and Wiggins, they should still run quite a bit. Also because Thibodeau's offensive system is really not that detailed, so what else is the guy going to run half the time? So, yeah, I think my gut feeling tells me Sarich is going to get more attempts for this team. Now, is he going to go to some different level as a player? Maybe. I think he does have some potential to put up a decent amount of points in the league, where maybe he could get up to 17 or 18 a game and kind of just be this, like, do-it-all kind of player for you. Now, I do have some fears, one of which is that Thibodeau is going to play him at small forward, which I think would kill a lot of the really cool stuff you could run with Sarich and Towns if they're both at the front court spots. I also think, well, I don't think this, I'm pretty confident in this, the defense is going to suck, right? The defense was bad with Jimmy Butler, and sure, Covington coming in, I think Jimmy is still a better defender than Covington, but Cov is, like, not that far away. But when you have Towns and Sarich out there, yeah, you're like, the other team's going to score a whole hell of a lot of points on you, but you know what? At least this team can have an identity, which if anything is just all offense. They can probably run like crazy with those two as well. And given that both of them can dribble, I mean, if either Towns or Sarich gets a rebound, they can bring it up floor themselves, which could create more opportunities for everybody on this team. And I think they hopefully could be a pretty good fast break or just high-paced team. I mean, they're averaging about 14 seconds of possession this year, which slots them like pretty much in the middle of the league. And I think putting Sarich and Towns together and not having Gibson play all those minutes next to Towns could end up speeding this team up a little bit more, especially because, again, both of them can go off the dribble, these two big guys. Now, do I think this makes them a playoff team? I mean, probably not. I could picture it if their offense just exploded, but unfortunately they're also like 5 games under 500 right now, which in the Western Conference, that's a really difficult thing to overcome, so I don't know about that, but hey, you know what? I think there were other moves out there that were probably a little better, like the Josh Richardson and a first-round pick, because it seems like Richardson is becoming a star. I think this is better than the 4 Rockets first-rounders, and I don't know if there were anything else out there. Apparently there were rumors of like the Pelicans trying to get in, but they couldn't make a real offer, so yeah, it's not bad. It's not the best they could have got, not the worst. It would have been nice to get a first-round pick, but even so, it ain't bad. Basically, it's going to help them on offense. They're still going to suck on defense. They're probably not going to make the postseason. And now you're just banking on Sarich getting better, and you've guaranteed yourself really solid play from Covington for the next 4 seasons as you figure out all the other stuff. Covington also being on a pretty damn good contract of, on average, about $12 million a season. So, yeah, not bad. If they didn't have Gorgie Dang's money sitting there, then they could have some options, but it is what it is. Yeah, that's my take on this move. Solid return, not amazing, not terrible. There you go.